The following training is sponsored by the Neoga Library System. We serve our member libraries in Niagara, Orleans, and Genesee counties. You can always visit our main web page listed here at neoga.org, or certainly visit your local library homepage and use your library card to get access to streaming videos, downloadable music, audiobooks, ebooks, and even more from the comfort of your own home. Thank you.
Hello again. So here we are again in the kind of talking more about the opposites, problem solving versus complaining. And as always, I have my links here. They'll be in the description of the video as well. And these are just my summary with my thoughts and opinions on what's going on with these particular topics. So I mean, there's great articles all over the place on dealing with complainers and that. And what we're really talking about too is about things more of chronic complainers, not necessarily situational. They're people that would be generally kind of negative or whatnot. And as always, all of these we all end up in all of these categories at one point or another. So take all of this with a grain of salt. Just kind of best practices, hopefully, for doing things. And as always, if you have any comments or questions or anything, email me, leave a comment, and we'll get started on this. So I took two articles this time, one from Angela Watson and one from Guy Winch. And I really like the subtitle to Guy Winch's article. For complainers, what they want and what they need are very different things. And doesn't this apply to a lot of us? So he starts with this example. Optimists see a glass half full, pessimists see a glass half empty, and chronic complainers see a glass that is slightly chipped, holding water that isn't cold enough, probably because it's tap water, even though I asked for a bottle. And wait, there's a smudge on the rim too, which means the glass wasn't cleaned properly. Now I end up having some kind of virus. Why do these things always happen to me? Whew. The constant negativity issuing forth from chronic complainers presents a huge challenge for those around them. And nothing makes chronic complainers happier than being more miserable than their friends. Trying to remain positive, motivated, and productive amidst a constant stream of complaints and dissatisfaction can try anyone's patience. Despite how difficult their complaints are for those around them, chronic complainers do not usually see themselves as negative people. Rather, they perceive themselves as being forever on the losing end of things and drawing the short straw on a daily basis. Therefore, they see the world as being negative and themselves as merely responding appropriately to annoying, aggravating, or unfortunate circumstances. Let me repeat that one again. Therefore, they see the world as being negative and themselves as merely responding appropriately to annoying, aggravating, or unfortunate circumstances. Ouch. So we need some tips to help deal with these types of personalities and these people. So Mr. Winch talks about, he put 3 survival tips out. Number 1, do not try to convince a chronic complainer that things are not as bad as they think they are, or suggest that they are overreacting to events or situations. This will only compel him or her to mention 10 additional complaints. Survival tip number 2, the quickest way to extract yourself from a complaining soliloquy is to validate their feelings, express some sympathy or empathy, okay, which must sound sincere or it will not do the trick, and then redirect the complainer to the task at hand. And survival tip number 3, in the majority of situations, and there are some obvious exceptions, you should avoid offering advice or solutions to and stick to sympathy, emotional validation, and then moving on to the task at hand. However, even chronic complainers sometimes encounter authentic problems, actual problems, and make legitimate complaints. In such cases, their distress is warranted and offer sympathy followed by very brief but pointed advice. Is what he talks about there. So Miss Angela Watson also gives good problem-solving advice on dealing with constant complaining or venting. She talks about, now she has a particular not attitude, but view on this. And she wrote a book. So she says here, dealing with constant complaining or venting, just continually talking about everything that's wrong in order to try and make yourself feel better. If you followed my work, her work, Angela Watson, for a while, or had read her book, Awakened, Change Your Mindset to Transform Your Teaching, she runs a teaching blog, you already know that she's not a huge fan of venting. Not a huge fan of venting. She says, Angela Watson says, for most of us, it is extremely hard to vent in a way that it's healthy. Most of us end up replaying and reliving the worst moments of the day at lunch, and then after school, and then with your friend on the phone in the evening, and then with your partner over dinner. And each time the person we're venting to shares all of their negative experiences too. And at the end of the day, you focus entirely too much energy on things that are depressing. Yikes. Oh, okay. To be clear now, she is talking about dealing with people who are nonstop chronic complainers. These are the folks who rarely, if ever, are actually looking for solutions. They will likely shoot down any ideas you offer because they're just wanting to complain. These are people who look for the negative in anything and always point out why something won't work. They can have 5 good things happen to them, but will only focus on and talk about the one bad thing. They can take the most uplifting anecdote someone else shares and find something upsetting to de-energize or to share in response. Ultimately, Angela Watson talks about these points. She talks about seeking out the positive, fun people in the room, sitting near them, set the tone by starting a conversation topic yourself, not about yourself, but setting the topic conversation yourself. Find topics beyond work that you have in common. And if you don't have anything in common, ask the most positive or the most talkative person in the group a question. Refuse to comment on complaints and don't attempt to validate the complaints. Keep your interactions with chronic complainers brief by pointing out any possible time crunch that you have. Try and create a no complaining time frame and be blunt about some of the impact of negativity on you. Draw a clear boundary in, again, tact, timing, and tone. Always very important, okay? So when they say be blunt, I always say tact, timing, and tone. Be careful, all right? Remember that complaints and rude comments are not personal. Stop thinking about the complainer when you're not around him or her, and build a community of people who inspire and uplift you. And I have found actually a lot of times I go on YouTube, I watch funny videos, I watch comedians, it just build kind of a community, something where you have a positive outlook. You can kind of end up laughing, or you end up at least feeling better, having a good time. Thank you very much. Take care. We'll see you in the next video.